I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods Volcano Block. So today is going to be very interesting. My goal is to hopefully get the wither automated in some capacity. And of course, that could be either doing it manually, where we actually summon in the wither and then kill it, or we can actually use a different method and have to manually kill it a few times before we can fully automate it using hostile neural networks. Both of them are great options, and both of them will generate a ton of nether stars over a period of time. However, I think towards the end of this pack, there is a lot of stuff that goes on in that is involved in all of the nether star production. So it does appear that at least with the creative items, you're going to need at least, it shows here, 15 nether star blocks that are time 3 compressed. That is a lot. And you're going to need that in order to, well, yeah, craft the final All the Mods star, which is ultimately the end game in my opinion. Now, before I do that, there's actually a boss that I would like to fight before fighting the Wither, and that is the Wilden from ours. And this is going to open up a couple of things, and we might have to fight this guy multiple times eventually. But this is going to be a thing that is used a lot. Now, to be able to summon it, you do need this tablet of Summon Wilden. And then you're also going to need to augment this ritual with Wilden horns, wild spikes, and also Wilden wings. Now, by default, this augment is pretty cool. It does spawn in some of these mobs randomly by default for a short duration, which is really good. And this is a useful way to be able to get some of these mobs so you can duplicate them later on, so you can have infinite Wilden wings, spikes, and Wilden horns, which we'll probably eventually do. But for right now, this is what you need, and then you need to augment it with these 3 things inside of a ritual pedestal. And I don't even think this requires any mana, or sorry, not mana source, in order to do this. So yes, we're going to be summoning the Chimera, and this ritual destroys blocks around the brazier. So keep in mind, we might lose the brazier, or we might actually lose this. Now, I don't think I am powerful enough just yet to successfully beat this guy. So I need to kind of prep. So to prep, what I'm going to do is actually make a very special sword. And this is also going to help us kill Apotheosis bosses, which are going to, well, it's going to increase the amount of damage that we can deal that's different from our base damage. We can actually deal some magic damage. And so we're able to apply a spell onto this. And this should also help us fight this Wilden boss as well. Now, it doesn't look like much by default, right? It doesn't look like much, but these things are incredibly powerful. And by default, I believe it applies an extra level of amplify on the last thing that is on this. So like the last spell that's on it. For example, if I put a harm spell, and if I go to an empty slot in my book, if we go ahead and do like a touch, by default, by the way, it already has touch on this sword. So just assume that touch is on here. And then if we go directly with that and we go, okay, we want a harm spell. So what it's going to do is it's going to automatically apply 1 level of amplify. And if we put that on here and then we shift right click after setting the spell and we check this, it's going to say touch, harm, amplify. As you can see, it applies an extra level of amplify. So the cool thing is we can go ahead and apply the max amplify, which is 2, right? And so this won't actually apply another level of amplify. So that might be something that you might think is possible. And it looks like we have amplify 3, but when we go to actually hit something with it, it will not work, from my testing at least. So what we can do is instead is use it as a way to give us an extra amplify without using this slot. So in doing that, it will still give us amplify 2. And now we have amplify 2 on here without using that amplify slot. Now, the way I want to use this is, well, I want to use some of these high level spells. And I did some testing when I was playing All the Mods 9 recently over on my Twitch stream, which if you haven't checked it out, it's twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect. I did some testing with this, and it turns out you can do some insane damage with a very specific kind of spell selection, but we do have to craft a couple of spells in order to get this to work. We are going to need a cold snap, which is pretty darn cool, and we can run multiple cold snaps along with a freeze. And also we're going to need some delays in this as well. So now that I have all of the glyphs that we're going to need, including duration down, so keep that in mind. So we have cold snap, freeze, delay, and duration down. All of these are going to help us out when developing ourselves a spell. So by default, let's just not think about harm for right now, and let's just focus on freeze, which is going to get this whole process started. And then after the freeze, we are going to put, I believe, a short delay on the cold snap, and we should be able to run multiple cold snaps. I don't know if these can be augmented. This can be amplified and extended time and AoE on the cold snaps. So now in between the freeze, I do want to delay, but I want to make the delay duration down to make this happen a little bit faster. And so then we'll hit it with a cold snap. We'll amplify twice on this cold snap because this one won't be affected by that extra amplify. And then we'll hit another cold snap. We should be able to do 2, and then hit this with 2 amplifies. And then we should be able to hit a final cold snap, which will also get an amplify. And we'll see if this will work. This might be able to work. And this will be where all of our damage comes from, believe it or not. So when we apply this, now we have our self-touch freeze, delay, and then it's going to have duration down, cold snap, amplify 2, cold snap, amplify 2, and cold snap. I don't think there has to be delays between the cold snaps, but we'll find out when we go to fight ourselves some mobs over here. Now, of course, keep in mind that with this particular setup, this sword can be enchanted. So it also will receive buffs from being enchanted and also modified with apotheosis stuff. So that's going to be pretty powerful. Let's go ahead and get this set up. Let's go ahead and activate a regular Wilden without any augments, and it's going to spawn in some of these mobs. And notice this should, look at that. It does a cold snap. Is it only doing 1 cold snap? It appears that it is doing 1 cold snap, but I could be wrong. Let's watch its health. Ooh, it takes it down to like 1 heart. I think we probably need to separate our cold snaps. That might be the case. That's you should not be here. Oh my gosh, emeralds. You are offering enchanted golden apples. Yes, I will take that. Goodbye. This makes it so much easier. And that's a cool test. So we can actually use this to gather up some of the Wilden materials and use it to test. Oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to instead try this. I think this is possibly what I went with when I was playing in all the mods 9. And it's a cold snap with 2 amplified. Then we have the delay with a duration down in between the cold snaps. And this will allow it to cold snap twice and then apply that extra amplify on the last one, giving it 2 max setups here. And there we go. So now we'll have 2 max cold snaps, and this will be a lot of damage. And then of course we need to account for the actual attack damage that this applies by default. And then when that's going to be modified, it should just about one-shot any normal mob. So let's go ahead and do this again. We'll test it out, and then we'll test it. Bam. That is a insta-kill. Look at that. It is now insta-killing. Ooh, not the big ones. This one had a bit more health. I love the new models on these, by the way. They are so cool looking. Yeah, these guys can shoot spikes. Ooh, that does a lot of damage to us. That is what I need to be weary of, because I think we will take a lot of damage whenever we go to fight the actual boss, the Wilden, that we're preparing for. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Now I'm going to be upgrading my little enchanting setup over here so we can also get ourselves some better enchants. And I was going to show this. This is kind of cool. So in the muffler here, you can actually set like locations to where you're at. You can set an anchor right here, and we can specifically find the mob sounds. So if we go like death sounds for all of these, we can just go ahead and specifically mute them in this anchor here that has a specific radius. Let's just say like within 16 blocks of this, we can go ahead and mute all of these individual animal sounds that we're hearing. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, of course there's more than just death sounds. All of these sounds that we hear, we should be able to go through here and set up. So now it's kind of peace and quiet over here. Pretty nice. But when we go over to other areas, we should still be able to hear the sounds that things make. For example, the chickens, I can still hear all of their sounds, just not in this specific location. I think that's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and dive into editing our bookshelf setup. This is where things get a little bit interesting, because we are going to be able to get into things like the hell shelf, with some potions of regeneration, and I can start to now enchant at much higher levels. Also, by the way, I did hear you guys' comments loud and clear. I didn't realize that on the actual smelters that they had an input and output. I thought it was definitely defined per side, but I do know some machines do not allow you to do the input and output. Some of them definitely have two different inputs, and that's, I think, where I was getting kind of confused with this. But it's completely understandable when you have a million mods to try and figure out how their like GUIs work. Yeah, it's just a lot to remember. You know, I still find this so odd that you can just place water right on top of lava and it does nothing. So interesting. All right, so I've got to make some potions, and some tips that will definitely help you is if you didn't already make this acceleration staff, you're missing out, because this thing can accelerate the brewing of potions. So if we grab ourselves some wort here, and we put this inside the brewing stand, we should be able to accelerate this process and make it very, very quick. So by default, pretty slow, but with this process now goes incredibly fast. So definitely worth doing this. Now I know I'm going through the trouble of all this, and I know I can make all the modium armor. I know. And I know that would be incredibly powerful, and we could easily probably make that armor. It just requires netherite and the allthemodium that we now have a ton of. But I do like going about things my own way, and we will eventually have allthemodium armor, and we'll probably use this as our cosmetic set. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. Sometimes I just don't want to go with things that way. It's not always about the best way to do it. Sometimes it's about what's the most fun way to do it. Now, I know this is diving into a bit of apotheosis, but once you have at least 15 of these hell shelves, you should now have enough of the hell shelves to start infusing your hell shelves. And this is going to be very important. And then we should be able to use the infused hell shelves to do this. Now, to get this infusion, you need at least 22.5 of the Eterna, and you need at least 30% quanta in order to make these. And so at that point, you can see we are matching this. And what we want to do is we want to convert these over into infused, because it's going to start lowering our quanta. And quanta is chaos, which means we'll have a higher chance of getting red enchants on here, which are curses in my opinion. And those are pretty nasty, and we don't want to, we definitely don't want to maintain those. However, it does cost like 45 XP in order to do that. But yes, you can kind of see this is an infused. This is not. Visually, it's hard to tell, but you can use Jade in order to see that. And we're just going to continue swapping these out as we go. Now, after getting all of this set up, we can now make the masterpiece, the perfect thing that Apotheosis adds, and this is in the Enchanting library. And it's not too difficult to get into this, but this library right here is amazing. We can start to take enchanted books, and we can start to dump them inside of this. And now we can pull out enchants and combine them together in an amazing way. Look at this. All of these go in here, and we can start to enchant books now and tossing them inside the Enchanting library to allow us to put whatever enchants we want on our gear, which I think is going to be the best option. Of course, we can still enchant, but I think this way is way better. Actually, the best thing we can do is make the enchantment extractor, and this thing is incredibly powerful. We can add this over here as well. Let's grab a point and give it some power. Oh boy. And talk about powerful. I almost forgot about this thing. This is an incredibly powerful tool. So we can take books, right? Plenty and plenty of books. Let's go ahead and make a few. And we can put the books inside here, and we can enchant any piece of gear, and it is going to rip the enchants off the gear while keeping the gear. And then we can take these books, right? Which are going to have high tier enchants on them, and we can then put them in here. So yeah, this is a fantastic way of doing it. I think we can use these in combination with one another. If we put the Enchanting library here, I think we can push this right here, and it's going to automatically put the enchants that we put on these things. It's going to automatically dump those into the Enchanting library for us. I mean, just take a look at how powerful this is. I can go ahead and put the items in, and I'm going to go, like, for example, this is my pants. I'm going to go max mana boost, max mana regen, which will put on this particular enchantment library, because there is one that can enchant up to higher tiers, but this one will be a maximum with this basic size. But yeah, we can put max protection on here, and we can put rebounding. I don't really care for rebounding. It is kind of dangerous to use this, in my opinion, because it can fling mobs that you actually want to kill far away from you, making it harder to kill them. So just keep that in mind. I think I want to also go projectile protection, because you can put 2 protections on. I have a protection normal, and then we also have our projectile protection, because fighting that Wilden thing, it has a couple of different things it can do. It can do blast damage, but I think the projectile damage is way more deadly than it does. And so yeah, you can put the item in here and it'll actually give you, as you can see, a list of the exact enchants that can go on this gear. Now, unfortunately, that diamond sword that I have, I think I ended up using it in a crafting recipe that had the like sharpness 10 on it, because I would have really liked to have had that sharpness 10 book to be able to put on here. I think it's called Captive Dreams. Oh, maybe not. There it is. No, it only had sharpness 5 on it. Mending, looting, and capturing. So in reality, we're going to be able to get the same enchants that this has on it, and we're better off just simply putting it inside of the machine and getting it converted, yeah, into the actual enchants. So over here with this, we can go ahead and start putting the things that we want on this. So there's a couple of things we can put on here. I definitely want max looting. Mending, not so much. This will actually repair itself. And then I don't want knockback. Capturing, we can go ahead and max out. Sharpness, definitely we want to max out. And then there's this right here, severing, which increases the chance of reliquary drops. Of course, I want that. And then sweeping edge. I don't actually know how much sweeping edge will help us. And then we can probably put tombstone on here. And I think we can also have 2 different types of effects on here. So sharpness and smite. I think we can also put on this all in one, if that's the case. It may not be, but we'll be able to find out. And then, yeah, Frost Knight has the chance to freeze, but we're already going to be freezing on hit anyways. So I don't see how that could help us any. So I think we should be good. I think we're going to be pretty good with just this on our tool. We don't even need sharpness or anything, or we don't need mending or anything like that. All right, I think we're good. Now, of course, I think you can pull out like max sharpness out of here and combine the 2 sharpness books to get like sharpness 6. And that'll be outside of the enchanting library, but I think sharpness 5 is going to be more than enough for us right now as we continue on. And of course, we will need better enchants later on. But let's go ahead and get our anvil. And I've got to use what remaining levels I have on me to combine these with the items. So you can see right here, this is going to be a pretty powerful sword, and it will have sharpness and smite both on it. And it's going to cost 50 levels to enchant this. This is also going to cost like 23 levels to put these on our boots, and so on and so forth. But with us running low on levels, I can go ahead and activate this and then use the crystal staff on this. And believe it or not, it actually accelerates the amount of levels that it puts out. Oh, that's so good. And yeah, we can just continue our enchanting journey here. Look at that, 20-something levels. And man, as if we weren't powerful before, now we're really powerful. And we'll be even more powerful if we convert these over to Apotheosis level gear, which we'll be working on later on. Now, there's one more thing that I can do to make us even more powerful, and that is to make ourselves a new thread. And this right here is going to give us increased spell power. And it increases each level depending on what slot it is. And I'm going to replace this with the Drigme slot. And so we can go ahead and still have Drigme, but it'll be of a different level. And the way we can change that is we can pull this off and put the spell power in that slot, and then put the Drigme in the other slot. So we'll still have that spell. But this thread makes this sword even more powerful now, as it increases the damage done by our spells. So let's go fight this thing. Now, I'm not going to be using any healing effects or anything like that. I don't want to use any carrots or anything if I don't have to. And I want to see if we can do this without them, because we can of course eat apples and all of those things that we use for like the warden. But this should be able to work. So to get this guy to summon in, and of course this is totally different from the actual wither fight, but let's go ahead and click this, and then we'll click one of these each into here, and this will start the boss battle. So let's go ahead and do this. Of course, I'm going to use this, and then also I need to be on the dispel. But look at him. Oh, wow, he's so cool looking now. But yes, this should deal a significant amount of damage. Oh, wow, and it does quite a bit of damage still to me, even without any of the effects. But we also have the same effects. Oh, the music is so interesting. Oh, it's cool. It has its own now like boss music. But yeah, this sword is so powerful, and we can just keep hitting this over and over, and look how much damage it's doing. It is just shredding this boss because it's just repetitively killing this over and over again. I almost wonder if the mob masher would work. Oh no, this is where the boss is totally different. Oh, that did some damage. That's where that blast resistance would help, because I think there's a phase. Oh, there is a phase, I'm pretty sure, where it shoots projectiles at you. And we're about to hit that phase, I bet. Yep. Here it goes. This is probably the most deadly. Oh no, it's spawning in more mobs. It's not changing phases. Ooh, I've not seen it in this update. This is new. Uh-oh. I thought it was about to fly again. Oh, it is. It is. We've got to run. Run! Dash! Oh, it still managed to hit me. I'm just not good enough. All right, we've almost got it down. I honestly want to see what its other phases look like, unless this is just how it is now. But there it is. I mean, I know that was a kind of abrupt music end, but dang, that was awesome. But now we have the Wilden tribute, which means we can now upgrade our gear into the next tier, which I want to make it the pyro. So instead of upgrading my spell book, which I'm not super worried about, we can use this instead to craft ourselves the marks of mastery. So yeah, now this is a little bit interesting. We do need this right here, this essence, which requires a source gem. So let's go ahead and grab this out, put all the things in, and this is also going to require source in order to make this. I think this is close enough. So it apparently is not close enough. We will need some source jars. I guess close by? Closer by, maybe? And there we go. It says recipe not found, though. I'm pretty sure I am making this. Imbuement chamber, wither skeleton, a golden apple, and a piece of bone meal. Golden apple, wither skeleton, and then a source. Maybe this has a different recipe that I'm not seeing. Maybe it tells me a different way to do this. Oh, this isn't actually a part of this at all. This is actually another setup that utilizes the imbuement chamber. I didn't even realize. So that's why I'm having some issues with it, because it doesn't work in this. Of course, I didn't read it properly. Mistakes were made, of course. So yes, this is going to need a imbuement chamber to do this. And we're also going to need some pedestals for this. And of course, it needs to be around some source. So because we only need one, it's not super difficult for us to get this started. So yeah, it's going to need a source gem in the middle, of course, like so, but only after we have these items situated. What was I thinking? Of course. So there we go. So if I put that in, now this is going to consume some of that source, as you can see right there, and that is going to make this item. Wow, I completely mistook that. And I thought I was crafting it in here, because they're probably yelling at me the whole time. So yeah, once we have this set up and have this item, I'm going to go ahead and place all of these down, because this is going to give me the things required to upgrade my gear. So this should take us to the next level. So there it is. There's the new essence. And then we put the Wilden upgrade in there, and it's going to consume the source for this enchant. And then we're going to be able to use this to choose our house. Very similar to choosing our house in Harry Potter. This is, well, kind of based around the same thing, it seems like. Judging by the way the book talks about things, it does talk about your different houses of magic. And there we go. So, Eternal Maestro? Is it supposed to be Maestro? Like, music? Anyways, Mark of Mastery. And we are going to use this to craft ourselves the pyromancy set. And so I think this is just going to be the same setup for everything. We take our current gear and we're just going to get this nice tier 4 upgrade that's going to happen to it. It's going to be pretty awesome. So to make this easier, just some hoppers, and then of course we start upgrading our gear. And this should carry over the enchants. So I hope, and everything should be fine. Everything like our at least normal upgrade works, and so it should carry up all of our threads and everything. So there you see it. Perfect. So now I have more capacity. We have more mana regen, more armor, all of that fun stuff. Ooh, that is so cool. It made us sound like fire when we put it on. Oh, I'm excited to get this full thing set up. And I wonder what the headgear looks like. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where it's at. So with the last one crafted, ooh, we are now looking pretty darn good. Man, if only Quark was in here so we could like remove the enchantment glint. I know we can use the enchantment glint like in the settings to remove it, but it removes it from everything. And some things you kind of want it on so you know if they're on or off. But in this case, well, it's looking pretty darn cool. You know what? Now that we have this, we can actually make ourselves even more powerful by maybe changing from the cold snap to the other setup, which instead of cold snap, we'll use ignite, because we can use our mark of mastery here to upgrade to a spell focus on fire. And this makes that sort of setup even more powerful, inflicting more damage and spreading it over to fire resistance mobs, making us incredibly powerful even to mobs who are resistant to fire. Oh my goodness. So after making the lesser focus of fire, I should be able to use this now inside of the enchanting apparatus with that one more mastery that we have in order to create this focus that is going to help amplify these things. So I'm going to go ahead and get a spell set up. I'm going to make some glyphs, and let's see if we can maybe change this over to a fire type, since that's the house we're in right now. I mean, honestly, what house would the fire relate to? Does it make me a Slytherin? I have no idea. So now with these two spells, the one being the glyph flare and the other one being ignite, this should now be incredibly powerful. All we have to do is now take this spell and basically replace these, and we will do ignite here, and instead of cold snap, we'll do flare, and it will be the exact same, just like this. And so we then can set that on this, and now we should have a spell that's even more powerful, especially when we have this focus equipped, which actually has its own slot, I do believe, the spell focus slot. So when we equip that, it should now be taken up here. And now this should deal even more damage. Now, one thing I want to reinsert here after the fact, because after, of course, me recording this entire episode, of course, I did notice this at the end when I was testing this on a dummy. And I did modify the spell a little bit by reducing the duration down and removing that out of this spell, and then using flare and one amplify. Because if I put another one here, the spell actually won't work because it's going to apply too much amplify. And so if we set this up like so, it will now do 2 phases and actually do the 2 phases, which I think even during the cold snap, it wasn't doing the 2 phases. But yeah, now it'll actually apply the full damage, which does about 31 to 30 damage each of these flares. So now for one attack, it will deal both of them, dealing over 60 damage plus the total damage that our actual sword deals. Of course, there's only one way to test this out, and that is to see how powerful this is actually going to be. And yeah, significantly more damage. And let's see, let's get more of them to spawn in and then use them while they're all near each other. And it should cause a tremendous amount of explosion damage. Oh my gosh. As if it wasn't powerful enough. So I'm hoping to be able to test this out on an Apotheosis boss, but I did notice now that I'm here that this gives us step 2, which step up, which now we just like instantly step up, which is one of my favorite things to be able to travel with. Means we can just use this and we can walk incredibly fast, but also maintain that step up as long as we're facing the ground, that is. Oh my goodness, this guy is still here from our last episode. And so this will be a good test. So let's just see. Look how much damage it deals to these, because it just will continue to do it over time, and it completely breaks through its shield, which is just mind-boggling how much damage this does to Apotheosis bosses. You're not going to be doing this much damage to these things normally. And there we go. As you can see right here, we just got ourselves a legendary tier. I don't think it's called not legendary. What's the, I forget the name. But anyways, this is the high tier, the highest tier of Apotheosis gear right there. That is that's pretty powerful. And we can just completely slay them with like no problem at all with this sword. I can't believe I was forgetting the name. Yeah, it's mythic level. That's what it's called, mythic. So yeah, here's another boss, good example. And this one's a little bit more scary because this is one that can actually attack me. But notice, I do deal a ton of damage. But it's dealing a ton of damage to me. That's where freeze would be kind of nice, because freeze also slows the mob, whereas this, well, it can still hit me. And these guys can deal a ton of damage to you, by the way. So be wary. Be wary. The freeze is a little bit better as it does that. But look at this. What in the world? It just... That's only a couple of shots. These guys normally take so long to kill. My goodness, I was not expecting this setup. And I can only imagine this is just going to destroy the Wither as well. As it does break through barriers where it, if things are fire resistant, apparently it just bypasses that altogether and just does direct damage. It's so broken and I love it. I love it. Well, guys, I think next episode we're probably going to get into the automation of the Wither. I know I mentioned we might do it this episode, but it's going to have to wait because, well, I just spent all this time making this. And look at the little orb that follows me around. That's so cool. Oh, I'm just loving this Ars stuff. Like this has been the most I've ever dived into the Ars Nouveau mod, and all of these add-ons are fantastic. Like they put the work in. This is awesome. And I hope you guys have learned something. Of course, every time I upload a video, it's something new that I'm learning. And I love playing around with new mods. And I can't do it without you guys. So I do want to say thank you guys for all of you who have subscribed. Thank you so much. And those of you who leave comments down below, because I love reading them. Gives me something to do when I'm not actively recording an episode. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button already, now is the perfect time to do so. And also give this video a huge thumbs up. As you can hear, it sounds like I have another Apotheosis boss to go slay. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. And of course, it is now time to thank the amazing supporters of today's episode. And of course, that amazing thank you is going to go out to Lekdil Gaming. Thank you so much for your amazing support, by the way, over on the Discord, becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Of course, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, of course, click that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Yet again, I will say that because I know many of you may forget, and that's completely understandable. And so, of course, that's just a little reminder if you haven't subscribed already. Guys, I thank you so very much. Check out the Discord, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, linked all down in the description below. And or also check out my Twitch live stream, which I do live stream as of right now 3 times a week. That always ends up changing, but I typically stream around the morning time Central Standard. So be sure to check that out. And of course, guys, I hope to see you over there and or in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!